we're going to take a look at that long-awaited and long-anticipated screener. The lower section that has screener, it has Pine script, it has the strategy backtester, it even has a place for notes, and you can trade directly on TradingView when you hook up a broker. I'm really going to focus more on the screener in this step, but I'm going to show you the other stuff as well. And just again, a quick reminder that you can get access to powerful TradingView screener settings. Great for crypto, great for Forex, great for stocks. You're going to love these different screener settings, and you can only get them through the bettertraders.com course portal. It's free. It's not going to cost you anything to join. You get access to that special video that's not anywhere else. And you're also going to get access to a PDF of the hotkeys, the need to know hotkeys for TradingView, as well as a course guide, a PDF that has everything that I talk about in this course, but in a PDF printable format. Well, let's check out that lower section. Here we are looking at gold on the 4-hour chart. This is specifically on the Owanda exchange. We're going to look at the lower section. Now, it's pretty obvious, but here is the first point of interaction is we have the timeline that's divided out by months, by time, by whatever we have really set here. But an easier way to view charts, if you want to look at how this chart has performed in the last 5 days, just click 5D. This is really convenient because not only does it automatically go to a 5-day period, but it automatically changes and adjusts your time frame for this. So I can look at the price action of the last month, 3 months, 6 months, year to date, yada yada, or the entire chart. If I want to look at a specific date in history, I can click Go To or hit Alt G. There is a calendar function where I can just click here and I can quickly cycle through, or I can go ahead and just type in a date, whatever it may be. And it takes just a minute for it to load, and then it'll let me know, here's that exact time you wanted. This is really convenient if you want to check out previous price action, or if you are a stock trader and you're wanting to know how has the stock performed in previous earnings seasons. This would be a way to do it. The next part on the right side is pretty obvious. This is the time zone. I'm in Japan, so it's set for UTC +9 or GMT +9. It's set like this by default, but I mean, if you want to change it, you could do so here. To the right of that, we can do a couple of things with how we're going to interact with the chart. First, we can switch from prices to percentage. Note that the percentage is going to adjust itself depending on the price action that you see. Let's go to the 3-month view and you'll see what I'm talking about. So, according to the 3-month view and calculations here, it seems that gold is up 15% in the last 3 months from May 27th, 2020. If we go year to date, we'll see that gold is up 28%. So this is useful because when we have this information, then we can decide if we feel like it may be too high or too low or anything like that. And note, as I move the chart left and right, it's going to change automatically this percentage. But if I turn auto off, it's going to keep it at the same percentage. So I've double clicked it and noticed that it went right back to the prices. This can be a little bit frustrating, but to be honest, I don't use the percentage too much. But what I do use a lot more is viewing charts with the log scale. The difference between looking at a price chart without log scale enabled is quite dramatic depending on the rise of the chart and the length of it. I'm actually going to go to, if we were to look at the price of Bitcoin over the last 9 years, then this is going to look even more dramatic if I have log disabled. Because here's all this price action down when Bitcoin was under $100, then it went above $100, and then it went all the way up to $20,000, then fell down to $3,000, and it's going and doing all this fun stuff. But when log is enabled, it's a little bit easier to see the overall trend. I personally keep log on all the time, But do understand that when you draw trend lines, when you do all those kinds of things with log enabled, it will change how the charts behave, especially if log is disabled. It's not going to keep that computation, keep it in log. This goes also for Fibonacci lines. It's not going to look as pretty or as useful. If I turn this off, it's going to skew everything, including the percentages there. Note that it just changed. It was 15,000 before, but now it says 2,800 or 2,811. So be careful. If you decide to use log, then stick to it. I know there are some indicators that have a log scale, or like this one for fib levels. You can enable it for log scaling, or you can disable it for log scaling. It depends on what you want to use. There's no better one, but for me, I enjoy using the log scale. I have a better experience trading with it and better accuracy drawing on the charts. There is one thing that we haven't talked about, and it's this gear right here. Now it's similar to the settings or the chart properties, but this one's a little bit different because this is in relation to how we're interacting with the chart. For instance, here's our logarithmic scale, or we could index it, use a percent. We could even invert the scale. And here at the top, now we have our low numbers, and down at the bottom, we have our higher numbers. There's a lot of interesting things that you can do here. The big things that I will say are useful are the labels. For instance, we can disable all of the indicator names or enable them if we don't know what they are. And why this would be useful? Well, if we were going to use the TBO indicator and you're learning how to use it, well, now that we have it enabled, we can see, oh, that's what this line is. Oh, that's what this line is called. So if you're using an indicator and you want to know exactly what parts you're looking at and get more information, then you would enable that here in the labels, and it's indicator name label. Of course, you can also turn on or off the last value labels. I do keep those on. I don't use this. So this is what I usually see in my chart. The reason I leave the values on for the TBO is that I can just quickly see on the right side of my screen where these prices are, and it's much more useful. So now we're going to look at the interesting stuff. And not to say that this wasn't interesting, but I think everybody really wants to know more about the screeners. And truth be told, there are 3 screeners, one for stocks, one for Forex, and one for crypto. We're going to look at the crypto screener just to get an idea of what we're looking at and what kind of possibilities are there. The first thing is that you can enable this to automatically refresh or manually refresh. I'm going to enable auto refresh, and it's going to automatically or dynamically update all of these values. I can change these columns, which we'll get to in a second, and there are different settings here, so that way you're looking at different parameters like performance over different periods, what trend following indicators are saying. I can also easily access them here. It's pretty intuitive. Of course, here, if I want to see how Ethereum is doing, I can just type it in and it'll give me all of this information very quickly. So if I wanted to find out quickly, oh, how's Ethereum doing? Instead of typing it in and adding the indicators, I can quickly use a screener to find out, which is really helpful. I'm going to click that X to clear the search. One thing you'll notice about this is that there's an extreme amount of matches. That's because I don't have any filters enabled. We can enable those filters over here where it's glowing blue filters. But actually a secret is that we can secondary click one of these and we can change the filter. So if I want to look for Bollinger Bands up and put in a value, let's see. There we go. So all of a sudden we're down to 453 matches, and I can easily change this value to be not below, but above or equal or crossing a certain value, and it'll give me a ton of information. Let's do above or equal 0.00001. There we go. So not, it hasn't significantly reduced it. I'm just giving an example. So it's not necessarily that's the one to use, but just so you can see that you can use these things that are here. And if there are things that you're not interested in, like you don't care about the Bollinger Band low, just remove the column. You can remove the SMA, or you can click on something else. Now, I've made some changes to this layout. If I want to save my layout, I click yes, but I don't because I'm using these built-ins. So I'd rather use these. One other thing that's really convenient about this is that I can look at the commodity channel index, click here, and now I can sort all of these charts based on the CCI. So what this will tell me is, well, this, according to the CCI range between a negative number and a really high number, this is the highest, this is the lowest. Again, not necessarily the best indicator of if it's a good thing to get. Now, I may want to use RSI because if I know if a chart has a very low RSI rating or a grade or however you want to call it, then it might be good for buying. Let's add in some filters. Actually, we are going to add a filter right here, and we're going to use, instead of below, we're going to do between. So now we have two values. I want to see everything between 10 and 25 with the RSI rating of that. Now we've really slimmed it down to 17 matches. This is much better. Then I can sort by the oscillators ratings, and it looks like bread USDT is possibly in a good spot for trading, although it doesn't look like that whatsoever. Let's go to the 5-day. Nope, I wouldn't necessarily say this is a good idea at all. So now we need to find out some other things, and we want to add some other columns, specifically a column for volume. And we want to make sure that we have at least a minimum of 50K trading volume. There we go. Now we can see something a little bit more useful. Now we're looking at Crow, and Crow on the Ethereum market, and this is on Bittrex, and it's dropping lots of nice little fat fingers, which we talk about in the account builders course. Like, this is really easy to trade. That would have been an easy 1%, boom, bada boom. So here we go. With this scanner, out of those 5,000 plus pairs, with the settings that I've selected, now I have a lot more information. One thing to keep in mind is that you can use the screener on multiple time frames. Well, one time frame at a time, but right now we're focusing on the 1 hour. I want to change this to the daily. Are there any charts that match this criteria? Yes, there are 10 matches. Let's see which ones are a strong buy. CRV BTC apparently is a strong buy according to the oscillators, and it meets our volume. As far as our RSI, it meets our RSI. So maybe this may be a good place to buy. Now, you would have to make a better educated decision than just trusting this screener and these settings. And I'll repeat again that there are better settings specifically for a couple of different setups that are shared only through our course portal on thebettertraders.com. I'm not going to explain that here on YouTube, but if you want to get that, sign up, get the access, or get the that video that's only accessible on our website, and then you can have fun with it. So this is one way to sort everything, although this could be a little bit annoying. So there's a more interesting way actually to do this, and we're going to click filters, and now it's going to pop up all of the filters available, or we can go by a couple of other criteria, as in descriptive criteria, like if I want to only look for charts on Binance. Well, there we go, done. If I want to look for things like technical analysis, if I want to know if the average day range is above a certain number, or if the change in the last 15 minutes is above 1%, we're going to have to remove this because we won't have any matches. There we go. Now we have 75 matches on Binance that have movement above 1% in the last 15 minutes. So it's moved up and it's within this volume range. I could even pump this up a bit more. Let's bring it up just a bit more to 1,000,000. There we go. And we don't want the super high coins. We want it to go between 1 and 10. There we go. So now we can find some coins with some setups according to the parameters that we've entered. Let me show you something that's really cool with this screener. You can have it interact with different parts of it. Like if you use the stochastic RSI and you want to know when the K crosses above the D, well, that's all you have to do. And now it's going to tell you all of the different charts that have the K line crossing above the D line on the daily or on the hourly. And if there are too many, well, we can add another thing. Like we could say we only want to see charts that are a buy or a strong buy. There we go. Now we have 163 matches. And now we want to filter our volume because we don't want anything too low. Perfect. Now we have two candidates that match our filters. This is really cool. Now it gets better. Now, just like the watch lists, I can click down here and I can quickly cycle through things by pressing the space bar. Good grief. That looks intense. All right, crypto. All right. So we can get all these different charts pulled up and I can cycle through them by pressing space bar, or I can shift click to select all of them, right click, and add selected symbols to a watch list. There we go. So now they've all been added to this watch list I already have enabled. So this is a really convenient way to add your crypto screener watch list to a watch list, and that way it's not moving around. If you thought that that was cool, this gets even better because we can create a saved layout or a saved filter and get alerts for it. To do that, we click here on General and we click Save Screens As, and we type in TradingView 101 test screen. Save it. There we go. And now we can enable alerts so that anytime we get a new pair added into here, we'll get a pop-up here on TradingView, or we can get an email, or we can be notified with a ping. And we can also have a message. This message is going to let us know this text. And we can also add other text, but it will also include the trading pair that has been alerted if this is being sent to your email. So I'm going to enable this, and I'm going to change this to auto refresh. Now it may take a minute, but eventually we're going to get notified that a chart has met the criteria for our crypto screener. Before we wait for another 45 minutes, this is set to the hourly, so it may take a long time for coins to meet the criteria. So let's change this to the 1 minute, just so we can get that alert cooking. There we go. So in 1 minute, we got some new tickers added to the filter: Hot BTC, Myth, and VET. And now we can edit this alert if we want to add more text to it or take away from it or just delete it. This is a great way to get notifications sent to you when criteria for your screener has been met. Now note that there are some things that work better than others, and there are some things that you don't really care about, you won't really want to know about. And because there's so many different filters and parameters, it can be really overwhelming. So that's why we have this special section, the special video rather, on this in the course portal. Let's check out the stock screener. This is going to be really interesting because with the stock screener, we'll go ahead and just click on good old Apple and note that there are no filters set up, except now we have different criteria. Now we have things like dividends, so we can sort coins by their dividends, and we could even create a filter for this, so that way we want to see only see charts that have a dividend yield of 20 to 30%. Now we have 11 different matches, which is great. We can also change our market. This is set to the USA, but we could also easily switch to the Australian Stock Exchange. And just like that, we have all of the markets that are available for trading. And we can continue down the rabbit hole looking at things like valuation, which we were looking at up here in the financials part of the first step. So that way we can sort by price to earnings ratio, sorting by highest to lowest. We can also set different settings up here in our screens, like looking at charts that have a new 52-week high. And with this information, now we can see, well, what's going on with these charts? Like, what is so great about this chart on the Australian Stock Exchange? Well, then here we go. We can see it. It's trending up. Hey, this might be a good buy. It depends on what you want to do, what you want to look at. There are lots of different things. The filters are going to have more information here in the fundamentals. And this is where fundamental analysis is going to be very valuable. If you are curious about knowing more about the business side of these companies that you want to invest in, this is probably a good place to find those things that you can really get granular on. Note that I'm not going to dive into this on the course portal for the special stuff. I'm really focusing on crypto because that's what I trade and that's what I believe is the future. What I will say, though, is that the fundamental stuff, while it's important, I really think that the screener excels at technical analysis and letting you know about lots of different information based on what is being projected on the chart. I want to show you another cool thing too. Over here on the indicators, there's also an option, if you remember, for candlestick patterns. Now that's actually available here as well. If I type in patterns, now we can only look at charts that have a bullish engulfing setup. Now we're looking at 4 matches on the daily for the ASX. We're going to go to the, the American side of things. Let's change the time frame to see if we have any other charts that are showing this pattern right now. No such luck. Let's see if we can reduce a couple of things like the 52-week high. There you go. Let's go to the daily. That's okay. What might happen, like you're seeing now, is that there are no matches. It's looking at everything available on the New York Stock Exchange, and there are no setups like this, and that's okay. But when there is one, when you have the alert set, then you'll be notified. Maybe you want to build very specific criteria and you don't want to see a long list. You only want to be notified if ... whatever you set up, then this becomes extremely valuable to you. Let's take a look at the Forex Screener. Now this is very, very interesting because we can get a lot of the same things, except now this is more similar to cryptocurrency trading. We don't have a lot of those fundamentals here. So we have descriptive things like we want to only look at specific regions or price-based action, and then we have all of the technicals. So here, let's try the patterns, and let's see if we can find any bullish engulfing patterns. And we don't want to look at the daily because that's very unlikely, but let's look for the 5-minute time frame. Do we have anything? Aha! So let's check out what we have here on the chart based on the hourly time frame. And yes, this is a bullish engulfing pattern. Let me just zoom this in so you can see. Now we have this green candle, which is a bullish candle, and it is larger than the candle to the left, which was bearish. So it is engulfing it. It's surpassing the volume or the size. So this could be a turning point for this chart. I don't know. I haven't investigated it, but now we have it here, and it's realized, and the screener has brought it to our attention, which is great. So that's all I want to talk about in regards to the screener for this step here. That's just part of the course that's on YouTube. And again, if you want to dive deeper and get those settings, got to go to thebettertraders.com to get it. The next section is quite convenient, actually, for all of you note takers and serious traders. You can create new, or not new, but you can create notes. So as I look at the chart, I can make some observations about what I see and record it like a diary or journal if you have a problem saying diary. I can also create more of these entries, and this is another idea, but slightly unrelated. Then you can write, and there you go. You can save your ideas, so that way you can, go on your jolly way. You can look at other charts, and then you can remember, oh yeah, my text notes. Now, if I were to change this to a different chart, note that the text notes don't go away. So this is a great way for you to recognize something that you see, maybe a setup, maybe an idea, or why did this happen? These don't go away. You just have a long list of them. And when you do, you can look for keywords that will draw the most, the note that matches those letters. So it's quite convenient. Next up is the Pine editor. I'm not going to really dig into this. This is very advanced, but this is a place where you can copy and paste in Pine script, and the Pine script will interact with the chart, display different symbols, combine indicators, create your own indicator. This is a place where you can really dive into it and start scripting out what you want to see on the chart. Again, it's advanced. I'm not going to go into it, but this is where you would do it. Now, there are some free Pine scripts out there that you can easily copy and paste into here. And once you do, you can save it. There was a script that I found when I was playing around with this, and it's this interesting script that is called the turtle strategy. So I want to add this to the chart, and now it's going to show me how this played out. And now I see the strategy tester. Well, this is really cool because with the strategy tester, I can see, well, how effective would this strategy be if I followed it as set up in the Pine editor. Now there is an indicator now up here that says turtles, and I can change these parameters, which will change the output. Like if I increase this to 40 and this to 5, it will change what comes out with the strategy tester. So the idea is that the strategy tester will show me the back-tested results, and it'll let me know how it performed over time. I can see the performance summary of this strategy, as well as a complete list of trades. So again, very interesting stuff here. It can be very beneficial, but understand that backtesting is for speculation, and it's not to take as the exact thing that's going to happen. So just keep that in mind, but it's very interesting, and I'm sure you agree. Finally, we have our last part, which is the trading panel. Now, there are exchanges that we can connect, Saxo, TradeStation, Wanda, but we can also enable paper trading. By enable paper trading, we can play with fake money or monopoly money. And this is useful so that way we can put in our orders, we can try it out, we can see how would that have worked out if I follow this exact strategy. Would it have been successful? Was that a good trade setup or not? So it's one way to try out trading. But I'll have to say that paper trading on TradingView is not the same as using it on a more advanced platform like 3commas.io. I much prefer using their paper trading just because it gives you those tools to have a better plan of action for your trade. So that plug for that's done, but you can see all this information here. Very interesting, very useful, but there are better solutions out there. It's just nice to have this built in. And now this concludes the lower section of TradingView. This step wraps up the TradingView web browser. We've covered all 4 sections of the browser version of TradingView, but there's still one more thing I want to show you, and that's their powerful smartphone app. So they have an Android and iOS version of the app. You've got to get this app if you're going to get serious about trading, and especially using TradingView. Stick around for the next step. Until then, stay awesome and stay in the green. Peace.